I'm very happy to introduce you to my dear and loving wife, without whom the Mas de Pain simply would not exist in its present state. Believe me when I tell you that if it hadn't been for her, we wouldn't have done all of this. I'd like to show you into the kitchen. The kitchen, which is also the dining area, because we like to do things the way they were done in earlier times. And back then, people ate in the kitchen. So my wife and I wanted our clients, whom we're always thrilled to welcome here, to be able to eat in the kitchen too. And this is our chef, Laurent Blondin, who's been with us for the entire season and would like to sign on for the next year as well. And we are very happy at the prospect of keeping him. Hello, I'd like a few stalks of dried fennel, please. Early risers like Laurent are used to going to the market in the dark, when autumn comes to Arles. When the eyes can no longer be counted on to help choose the best products, the other senses must be called upon, along with instinct and experience. On today's menu, we have squash soup with wild mushrooms and goat cheese gnocchis. So we'll need a piece of squash, some garlic, shallots, an onion, a piece of pork rind, a sprig of thyme, and some sautéed mushrooms. To make the gnocchis, we need some ricotta cheese, a bit of flour, egg yolks, and herbs of Provence. So now we've finished cutting up the squash, and we've peeled and sliced the onion, the garlic, and the shallots. So I'll put the saucepan onto the heat with a little bit of olive oil. We put in the pork rind and the thyme, and we let it gently heat. I add a knob of butter, and once it's well sweated, I add the squash, and I season lightly. I gently sweat the squash without browning it, and I stir a little now and again. And now I'm going to add a bit of white base. The white base is simply a poultry stock, which means we take a poultry carcass, we remove the excess fat and let it simmer in water for between 25 and 30 minutes without boiling. And then we're now going to prepare the dough for the gnocchis, and the dough for goat cheese gnocchis requires 250 grams of ricotta cheese of course, 15 grams of flour, an egg yolk, and a few herbs from Provence. I put all the ingredients into the blender, and there. The dough is ready. And I take 2 spoons of the same size, and I shape the gnocchis. So we let the gnocchis cook gently, and as soon as they float to the surface, they're cooked. And we scoop them out delicately so they don't break. And we place them in some water so that they can cool off quickly. Now we'll take out the pork rind we put in at the beginning, because we don't want the mixture to get too salty. And now the squash is cooked. The squash cooks in about 25 minutes. And I've already broken it down with the blender. And now I'm going to filter it, so I take a sieve and another pot and pour the whole thing in, gently straining it. There we go. And now I put my soup on to simmer, and whilst that's going on, I'll fry the wild mushrooms.
Alors mes gnocchis.
And now for the gnocchis. They've now cooled,
Je les remets à pocher tranquillement, tout
so I
doucement.
start to poach them ever so gently in their original pot with just a drop of olive oil.
Les champignons légèrement repoêlés.
And now the mushrooms are lightly fried,
Et là, on est pratiquement prêt
and we're
pour le
nearly ready to arrange the plate.
tout petit tas de champignons bien
A small pile of mushrooms right in the middle of the plate, like that,
ça. Les gnocchis
and the gnocchis like this,
la soupe
and
de
the
courge
squash soup
par-dessus.
over the top.
Alors avec ça, je peux vous conseiller
A good wine selection with this would be a 1997 Saint-Estève.
voilà, bonne pièce de
Today we're going to prepare a cut of bull with Camargue rice.
Alors tout d'abord, il nous faut une pièce de taureau,
The first thing we need is an untrimmed side of bull,
beurre, des herbes de
some
Provence,
Camargue rice, some butter, herbs of Provence, thyme, a shallot, an onion, some bull juice, salt, olive oil,
un peu de poivre.
and a bit of pepper.
Alors tout d'abord, nous allons parer
Now, first of all, we're going to trim the bull fillet.
Voilà. Ah donc, avec les parures que nous allons récupérer,
And we'll make the bull juice using the bits we've trimmed off.
voilà, un morceau d'environ
We
100.
plan on about 150 grams of meat per person.
Donc nous allons démarrer le riz.
And now we'll start the rice.
Alors, le riz dans une casserole assez haute,
We'll cook the rice in a rather deep pot,
un peu de beurre.
starting with some olive oil and butter.
Voilà. Nous rajoutons l'échalote
And we add the finely sliced onion and shallot,
finement.
which we sweat gently.
Nous faisons légèrement suer. Voilà. Un peu d'herbe de
And then
Provence
we add the herbs from Provence
et une feuille de laurier.
and a bay leaf.
Faisons cuire ça tout doucement.
We
Sans
cook this very gently without browning,
Voilà. Et on rajoute le riz.
and then we add the rice.
Voilà. Il ne faut pas avoir peur de mettre
Now don't
beaucoup
be
de
afraid
matière
of putting in too
grasse.
much fat,
Le riz
because
soit
we
bien
want the
enrobé
rice
de
well
toute cette
coated.
matière grasse.
We call this nacré. It means literally pearled.
Voilà. Donc, dedans, je rajoute
So
un
to
peu de
this,
fond blanc.
I add a little poultry base,
Une petite ébullition.
I bring it to a boil,
Pour environ 20 minutes.
and then we cook it in the oven for about 20 minutes.
Donc, on a notre filet de taureau. On va le
Now
mettre
we're going
en
to cook
cuisson.
our fillet of bull.
Il faut mettre une poêle à
So
chauffer.
we start off by heating a frying pan with a little olive oil,
Voilà. On assaisonne légèrement
and we lightly season the fillet.
le taureau. Voilà. Un peu de beurre.
We add a knob of butter.
On retourne la pièce de taureau bien
Now
colorée.
we flip over the fillet,
Voilà.
which is now well browned,
On finit de saisir de ce côté.
and we finish frying this side,
De cuire en mettant
and then we finish cooking the fillet in the oven,
et en retournant la pièce de viande.
turning it over every 2 or 3
Le
minutes.
filet de taureau est cuit.
The fillet is now done.
Au bout de 10 à un quart d'heure.
It's been in for 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how well the customer wants it cooked.
Dont il a exigé. Voilà. Belle pièce de taureau.
That's a wonderful piece of bull.
Le riz, lui aussi, est cuit.
The rice is also cooked.
Il est chaud.
It's hot,
On peut rajouter dedans une petite noisette.
and we can add a little spot of butter.
Voilà. Donc, nous avons le jus de taureau.
And we have the bull sauce, which is lightly seasoned and ready.
Nous allons effectuer l'assemblage.
And now we can dress the plate.
Alors, voilà. Donc, je dispose le riz,
I place the rice
voilà, bien au centre de l'assiette.
right in the middle of the plate.
Voilà. La pièce de taureau.
And the fillet,
Voilà. Le jus de taureau.
the juice,
Voilà. Donc voilà. Le filet de taureau.
and there you have fillet of bull with Camargue rice. And to go with it, I suggest a 1998 Chateau Pibarnon.
Bon appétit.
Have a good meal.
Alors bonjour, aujourd'hui nous
Hello there.
donc une
Today we're going to make a citrus soup with orange cookies.
Alors, pour la recette, nous avons besoin
For this recipe, we need some oranges,
de clémentine,
clementines,
d'amandes,
almonds,
de beurre en
softened
pommade,
butter,
de sirop,
syrup,
de jus d'orange,
orange juice,
Grand Marnier,
some Grand Marnier,
sucre semoule,
caster
farine.
sugar, flour, and mint.
Alors, pour la soupe d'agrumes,
For a citrus soup, I first completely peel an orange,
voilà. Je vais en tirer les segments.
and then I divide it into segments.
Je vais éplucher la clémentine.
Now I peel the clementine,
Je sépare tous les petits
and
quartiers.
I split it into segments,
Je rajoute un peu de sirop.
and I add a little bit of syrup.
C'est du sucre.
The syrup is just sugar and water,
Voilà, un peu de sirop.
so here's the
Un
syrup,
petit peu de Grand Marnier.
and a small drop of Grand Marnier.
Voilà. Je laisse macérer la préparation
I then leave the mixture to marinate for 2 or 3 hours in the refrigerator.
bien au froid. Donc nous allons réaliser le croustillant.
So now we're going to make the orange cookies.
Donc les amandes, le beurre,
So we'll need the
le
almonds,
sucre
the butter, the flour, and the sugar.
en premier.
We start with the sugar,
Voilà. Le beurre.
and then the
en pommade.
butter, which is soft but not melted,
Beurre qui n'est pas fondu ni trop dur. Voilà. Les amandes.
and then we add the almonds,
Voilà. La farine.
the flour,
Et le jus d'orange.
and the orange juice.
Voilà. Et on mélange le tout.
And we mix it all together.
Voilà. Vous obtenez un mélange bien homogène.
You should get a mixture that's evenly mixed and not too hard.
L'appareil à reposer. Donc on va le disposer.
We've let the pastry dough sit for a while,
Un six-pattes.
and now we'll place it on what we call a CPAT,
Plaque.
which is a kind of non-stick griddle.
On fait des petits tas, tout simplement.
We deposit it in little lumps on the
On
griddle,
va le mettre au four en cuisson
and we let it
à
cook
180 degrés pendant 4 à
in
5
a 180-degree oven for about 4 or 5 minutes.
Les croustillants à l'orange sont cuits.
The orange cookies are
Je
done,
les sors du four.
so I take them out of the oven,
Je les laisse un petit peu reposer.
I set them to cool a little bit,
Voilà. Faut y aller doucement.
you have to be very gentle here in order to avoid breaking them.
On laisse sécher 2-3 minutes.
And we let them harden for 2 or 3 minutes,
L'assemblage.
and then we can dress the dish.
La soupe d'agrumes qui a reposé minimum 2 ou 3 heures.
First of all, the soup,
Voilà.
which has been 2 or 3 hours in the refrigerator.
Voilà. Donc une tuile,
A cookie,
un petit peu de menthe,
and a sprig of mint.
voilà. Donc avec la soupe d'agrumes,
And with the citrus soup, the wine selection is a Muscat de Baume de Venise, which goes extremely well with this dessert.